So Andy Reid says, I'm the biggest, baddest choker among NFL head coaches in the playoffs. Mike Tomlin today said, oh, no. Hold my beer and my beard spit. Like, seriously, the dude had beard spit the entire second half, and nobody could bother to tell him, be like, hey, dog, you need to wipe your beard. Unbelievable. You know what? I wouldn't have told him either based off of him and his coaching staff's performance today. This whole game you're sitting there watching, and you feel like you're seeing three future Hall of Fame offensive studs in Big Ben, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell trying to do everything they possibly can to win this game and get to that all-encompassing rematch, that all-consuming rematch with the New England Patriots next Sunday in Foxborough. And it felt like you had the coaching staff, whether it's offensive coordinator Todd Haley, defensive coordinator Keith Butler, and ultimately the head idiot in charge, Mike Tomlin, doing everything they can to sabotage and undercut their three all-pro future Hall of Fame offensive studs. And this is ridiculous. All this talk and focus about the Patriots. You've got to beat the Jaguars first. And how many times can you let Mike Tomlin skate when this is a trend and a pattern over the years of criminally underestimating teams? Look at how many bad losses the Steelers have had over the years to bad, crappy, horrible teams. See my Chicago Bears in 2017 as a perfect example of that. Every year this crap happens. And you can talk about how he's good with the players and they respect him and he's rah-rah and good motivator. Well, at some point in time, that crap's got to kick rocks if your team consistently plays up or down compared to the level of competition. And I'm sorry, even if we want to think of the Jaguars as a freaking joke and the fact that they've got Blake Bortles as their quarterback as a joke, ultimately they won their division, which is something in the NFL. They won a playoff game in the NFL. You are in the divisional round of the playoffs. There is no time to take anybody lightly. There is no time to think about next week because you need to handle your business right here, right now. And to make it even worse, you played these jokers earlier on in the year. Big Ben threw 5 picks talking about he might not have it anymore. You let Leonard Fournette run it down your damn throat all game long. So you come back now in the divisional round, you let Fournette run all over you again. You don't force a single turnover on Blake Bortles, who, I don't care what anybody says, is boo-boo. He barely completed 50% of his passes. He's trash. Period. And it didn't matter because the Steelers did nothing to make him look like trash. You're running sweeps on 4th and 1 against a fast defense. Who thinks that's a good idea? Not to mention early in the game, you're passing on a field goal and 3 points, which would have been very valuable, knowing that you ultimately lost the game by 3 damn points. Late in the 4th quarter, you're electing not to run a quarterback sneak on 4th and inches with a 6'5", 450-pound damn quarterback and Big Ben because you want to throw it deep. And maybe that's worked early in the game, but at some point in time, that can only work so many times before those chickens come home to roost. Then, as your 3 offensive studs, your future Hall of Famers, get you back within 7 points, you've got over 2 minutes left, 2 timeouts, a 2-minute warning, and you decide to onside kick with the kicker in Boswell, who's absolutely terrible at it. Then, after giving them about 40 to 45 yards of field position that you shouldn't have, putting them on the precipice of being in field goal range, after the Jaguars run their first play, you allow the clock to run down to the 2-minute warning instead of calling a damn timeout to save precious time. When it's a 1-score game. Not that it ultimately mattered because you let the Jaguars get into field goal range and they kick the field goal, and it's a 10-point lead with less than 2 minutes to go. And even as your offense gets you back down in position again, you're at Jacksonville's 15 with 47 seconds left. Take 1 or 2 shots at the end zone, that's fine. But if you don't, get the offense the hell off the field because you need 2 scores anyways. Get that field goal and take a second stab at the onside kick. Who the hell knows what happens? But no, once Big Ben gets that intentional grounding call, instead of having the field goal unit ready and running them out there immediately, or instead of having an offensive play ready so Big Ben can immediately get everybody lined up at being ready and prepared right then and there, you kind of bumblefuck around, waste a bunch more time, and ultimately score a touchdown with, oh, guess what, 1 second remaining. So it's inconceivable and impossible for your team to get the ball back and try to win the damn game. And everybody's going to bitch about Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator, and he was terrible at times in this game. And everybody's going to complain about Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator, as they should, because they allowed the Jaguars to score 38 offensive points on this defense. 38 for a Blake Bortles-led team, knowing that they're largely one-trick ponies. It's Leonard Fournette left, right, and middle. And Fournette even missed some time late in the first half. And he still went over 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. They let TJ Yeldon look good. Holy hell. And then later on in the game, you're letting Blake Bortles complete a bomb down the field 2 plays after trying the exact same damn thing, and then you're leaving a freaking fullback wide open over the middle of the field. I'm sorry. But how long can a Super Bowl win hold you your job? You stupid, stupid idiots. Like, no offense to the Jaguars, but even after a 21-0 lead and a 28-7 lead, they were damn near in a position where they could have had some semi-historic choke job in the playoffs, losing a 21-point lead. Because the way this looked in the second half, it was the 3 super studs. It was Big Ben, it was Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell saying, enough of this crap, we're going to carry this team to victory. And every time you turn around, it's like the coaching staff is being like, can't happen. Well, you know what can't happen? The Steelers can't get their rematch against the Patriots next week because they were ill-equipped and ill-prepared to deal with the team that they saw earlier on in the regular season. That they had 2 weeks to potentially prepare for in a home playoff game situation in cold-ass weather facing a freaking team from Florida. If there are questions about Andy Reid's job security, and I know there really aren't, but a lot of people with a brain would have to sit there and question it because how many times can you go down the same path and only get to a certain point? Well, at what point in time do you start to have those questions with Mike Tomlin too? And you want to blame the coordinators all you want. Who's the one that helps put the coordinators in place? It's Mike Tomlin. Ultimately, he's the head dude in charge of all that you see. He could sit there and say, no, we're not going to try an onside kick when we've got the 2-minute warning and 2 timeouts because this is still a 1-score game. We're going to show some faith in our defense to be able to make 1 set of stops against an offense that's going to play it incredibly conservative and that position of the field. No, you're going to try the onside kick. No, instead of trying to sit there and kick a field goal to make it a 1-score game with about 30-something seconds left and giving yourself a chance to potentially get the ball back, even though your kicker is terrible at the onside kicks, which he just proved a little bit earlier in the game, but it's going to have to happen no matter what. You sit there and try to go until you scored a touchdown and you run the damn game clock out. Like, how ridiculous and how idiotic. You saw it time after time after time. Today is a perfect example of how bad coaching can kill good teams. The Steelers are a good team. The Steelers are a very good team with 3 Hall of Fame offensive studs in Big Ben, AB, and Le'Veon. The fact that they won't even be in the AFC Championship game this year after at least making it there last year is an absolute farce and a complete and total joke. How do you go 13-3 in the regular season, have the big 3 healthy, you're facing Blake Bortles at home in the playoffs, and you can't get the job done? You let him hang a 45 spot on you at home? I'm sorry. If Todd Haley's got to go, if Keith Butler's got to go, then Mike Tomlin most certainly has to damn go. Because how far is he going to take this team? The answer is, you found out. Either an embarrassing loss in the AFC Championship game in Foxborough to the Patriots, or following that up with an even more embarrassing home loss to freaking Blake Bortles' Doug Marrone and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Think about this. Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers got outcoached by Doug Marrone. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Blake Bortles is going to the AFC Championship game, and Mike Tomlin now can go home, kick on Madden, kick it in coaches mode, and do what he does best. Lose when it matters. He can't even beat the Patriots in a rematch there, and he probably kicks that shit in easy mode. Now, you talk about the coordinators all you want, but you only have a certain period, certain window of opportunity, certain period of time that you can win with a core like Big Ben, AB, and Bell. Are you seriously thinking about wasting the entirety of that window with Mike Tomlin, who is clearly in over his head is in terms of a strategist as an X's and O's guy? At some point in time, the X's and O's got to matter at least a little bit, and they did today, and once again, Mike Tomlin failed. Cool. You won a Super Bowl with him. Cool, he took you to a second Super Bowl that you lost to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. How many years ago was that? How many more disappointments before you start to reevaluate the situation and say, are we really going to waste this entire window of opportunity and think about years down the road, woulda, coulda, shouldas, with a guy that we've given plenty of opportunities to, and all he's given us is woulda, coulda, shouldas? Mike Tomlin should be fired. I know it won't happen, and I know for all intents and purposes, they could come right back and be on the validation train in 2018 and beat the Patriots finally, if they can get to them first, and then win the Super Bowl, and they'll be like, hooray! But the way it looks right now, you have a really hard time convincing me that Mike Tomlin should be allowed to return in 2018, even though I know he will.